If I can just add one thing, I speak to first-time home buyers, and that does sometimes come up. And my answer to them is, look, historically, people sell properties within a 5 to 7 year term. So if you're telling me, well, I don't want to be tied down, because in 5 years I'm going to relocate or what have you. Well, you're building equity during that time. You're selling that property, then you're taking that equity and buying where you're going. And if you don't want to sell it, you're renting it and you're relocating somewhere else. I'm doing a loan right now for a gentleman who's relocating from Texas. He's renting his house in Texas, right? He's getting a nice income from that house and he's purchasing, a house here. So as far as, flexibility, you still have flexibility. It's just how you want to work it.
Isn't that a really time-consuming process, though?
To me, it's not. I mean, it all depends. Everybody's different. But to me, it takes, as far as the process of the mortgage, what have you. If you're renting it out, it doesn't. You add the time to sign a lease to that. As far as selling, it might take you a little bit. Maybe a month time frame to sell a property, but hey, you give me the opportunity to make 100,000 over 5 years for a month worth of time, and I'll take it every day of the week,
Well, I asked that question obviously very leadingly, and I'll take over as the market expert and the transactional expert. We put a property on the market in Boston. The average days on market until a purchase and sale agreement is signed is 34 days. The average time.
How many days?
34 days. So from the day we list the property to the day we're going, not just an accepted offer, but going into a purchase and sale contract, which is the binding kind of final step before closing, typical closing about 15 to 30 days after that time frame. But until that contract signed is about 34 days. When we advertise an apartment for rent, we typically put it between 60 and 90 days, and put on the market between 60 and 90 days before we need to lease the place. So if you're coming for a lease break, asking about getting out of your lease, you could expect to spend at least 30 days trying to advertise to find someone to take over your apartment. And that person taking over your apartment probably isn't going to start the lease for another 2 to 4 weeks out from the day they actually apply for it. And not very often do people show up and say, I want to move in tomorrow. So they're looking ahead of time, just like most of our renters. They all look 2-3 months ahead of time. So the flexibility there, you're actually, as George said, you're getting money, you're getting paid by selling, and you're really not taking any more time. So there really isn't a difference in the amount of flexibility you have between selling. And I think the other side you mentioned is you're going to be buying the next place, but you could keep this property as income. And even if you just needed to rent something for 6 months wherever you're going, you have the cash flow from the other property to offset from your primary residence that's now become an income property to offset your new home, wherever, even if you're renting there because you don't know what you're going to be doing. Right. So there is a lot of flexibility. You could rent a place for a year that, the home you buy now could be rented out for a year as a landlord. Then you sell it and buy in the new place. So in a lot of ways, being in control of the real estate gives you a lot more flexibility than being under a landlord's control when it comes to the real estate. So really important topic there. I always that topic always comes up is I need more flexibility. I don't know where I'm going to be next year or 2 years out. So yeah, really good there.